morning, good afternoon, wherever you're watching us from. Today is week two of the NTEEP's live training session. My name is David Sukuri and I'm your moderator for today. NTEEP, which stands for Central Technologies Entrepreneurship Empowerment Project, is dedicated to supporting startups and entrepreneurs across Africa with digital tools, mentorship, and access to global opportunities. Today's topic is titled Financial Management for Startups, and our speaker for today is Kasango Dickens. Kasango Dickens is the National Vice President, MSME, GCIT, Uganda. He is a passionate entrepreneur and business dedicated to driving positive change across various sectors. Growing up in Africa gave him employment, a deep appreciation for the role of employment opportunities in transforming lives. With experience across multiple industries, he identified across he identified gaps that inspired his journey into self-employment as a means to solve everyday challenges. His commitment to improving the lives of ordinary people continues to fuel his efforts in creating sustainable impact and fostering development throughout Uganda and beyond. Please make welcome our speaker for today. Sir, you have the floor.
Hello, my name is Kasango Pesa, and I'm the Vice President, Global Council for Promotion of International Trade, Uganda, and I'm also the CEO of the Airlines and Prison Procurers Limited. And I'm privileged to be presenting or having this dialogue with you today regarding financial management in startups. And you're open to share your questions. We'll be able to have back and forth interaction with you and be able to answer any questions. Thank you. Yes. So we're looking at one. We're looking at the business conceptual process. How do you get the business? How do you start managing the money? Because by all means, you have to start from a place of how do I convert my idea to start generating return on investment? One, that it can sustain itself, employ more people, but also give you the life you need to impact different other people. So here we're looking at one, it can be through brainstorming, through things that you find of interest that come easy with you. It can be sales, it can be interaction with people, it can be hospitality. And how do you convert that to start earning your income? Yes, kindly go to the next slide. So in this, you can either have either an innovative idea where it's already existing, but you're going to add that existence to a little touch-ups to ensure that one, it's innovative but it can still bring a return on investment. It's innovative or it's an existing business but you're maybe going to improve the customer service delivery, or you're going to typically issue out a different business model to ensure that one, people get a different experience from what they usually experience from other people in the same business. Yes, next slide. So in this, some of the documents you need to actually have in your business planning as you're looking at the financial management. You need to have a financial assumption. What figure are you working with? Because you have an idea. How much is it going to cost you to start that business? How do you convert it to ensure that your expenditures are met, but you also have employees making salary? You're ensuring that there is an income coming in. You can pay your taxes, but also have a take home. Then you need to ensure that you have the income statements, cash flows are up to date, and balance sheets. Yes, next stage. I'm going through because I want to focus on the actual gist. Yes, so here, what is the funding life cycle of any business? We have a business idea development, as I've just shared in a nutshell. We have what is the business model to support those business ideas to actually come to life. It can be one in a way that you're transforming maybe a lingerie business. How are you going to give it a touch that when you put it out on social media, it's appealing to the society? Maybe it's run on the social media platforms or digitally using websites as an e-commerce platform using social media. And then how do you prepare that to be packaged into an actual product, different from someone going to own a store and sell of a product. So in that, you have to develop the actual product. So mostly, in most cases, you have in the bootstrapping where you have self-funding for different people that you're translating the idea into starting to generate an income. In that process, you have one, what's the idea? How are you going to go about the idea to ensure that that idea can actually be put into paper from a business plan perspective? It has to have the graphical touch to make sure that it appeals to that particular segment or customer database. From that, you now reach out to different people. The next stage is developing your product. Is it going to have an office? Is it going to be an e-commerce based business? An example like Jumia, based on the business model on how your business is going to operate, you need to now realize if it's an e-commerce run business like Jumia, it's going to definitely need to have a web presence. You're looking at a website, you're looking at social media platforms, you're looking at keywords for the different products you're having. You're looking at one, how can you have influencers as part of your marketing uh, subscription to get to the different people that give them following. I don't have newspaper outlets as part of your affiliate marketers to ensure that different other people come in. But at product development, there's a lot of costs involved. So at this stage, you may need to have either family, friends, or business partners that are going to either bring in form of knowledge or financing to ensure that the business can go to the next stage. The next is you launching. You have a platform, you have the stores, you're branded, and you're literally experiencing the different products as packaged as experience. Following that, you've gotten feedback based by data from the different customers that you'd want, and they're ready to share with you every single detail about the product. The next stage is you go out and you build a team, because any business, if it's not beyond you or beyond your family, it's not actually a business. That means if you don't open a shop, it cannot operate. So we're looking at how do you now get that team to appreciate the values of a business, understand your vision, your goal, where you're going. Now, at this level, we're talking that having a reputation. How do they know you? How do they know Jumia? How do they know you as the focal point in this business? And how can you translate that into financing? And as a result, the models of financing in this format is going to be through grants, it's going to be through venture capitalism, and it depends. As I've shared, the second stage you have a seed financing where you are launching a project, and through accelerator programs, people are going to come and approach you to partner either through equity, either through grant, and they come and support you. Then the next stage where you're building the team, you have either Series A, and the next would be Series B and Series C, depending on how much volume, as the graph shows you how much volume you actually have in the business. Next slide. Yes, so here we're going to talk about the different ways of funding, because you can't manage, we're talking about financial management in startups. You can't manage what you don't have. So the slide before gives you an expression of how the business has moved gradually from idea stage where you funded it to the seed stage where friends and family have actually come in, and we're talking about this over time. It's the value that you're offering. Your business is kind of, let's go back to the previous slide. You are talking about this over time, the value that you're offering to the customers over time. As you grow, you're multiplying the customer experience, the referring, you're having a retention in your business, and you're having very many other people that are subscribing. That's where the growth is coming in. So as you do that, we're moving from the bootstrapping to the friends that are investing in at the seed stage. We're going to Series B, where you're having angel investors, you're having crowdfunding. Some could be free, some could be coming in at crowdfunding with equity. The other could be the grants, and then through accelerator programs, whereby you're trained over a period of time, and following that, you can tap into particular funding. The next would be, which is at a later stage, which would be at grants, and you also have tax exemptions where different governments come in to give you tax incentives for the benefit you're bringing on table. Yes, next slide. Yes, so here we're talking about the venture funding. How can you actually get yourself ready for funding? One, some of the things that we need to look at, you need to have the right team to work with. You need to have an accountant as a must, because any startup without any startup without bookkeeping is literally going to fail over a particular period of time. So we're talking about how do you keep these books? How do you have your balance sheet speak transaction? How do you have more sales coming in maybe through the marketing, and you're tapping different people through particular dynamics, and you're having an ongoing growth pattern. So once your business is ready, you're managing, you've started, let's say from idea perspective, it's an e-commerce. I'm going to give a case study as we go on. How do you translate that over the volumes? Because you're now going to look at a typical business. What are the expenditures? How does it get to translate into retentional growth that an investor can pick an interest maybe as a result of the volumes or the overall long-term performance of that business to ensure that it's good. And the next slide. So here we're talking about the valuation. In most cases, the investors, this is some of the mechanism they use to ensure if a business or an idea is actually investment worthy. Some of the investors I've met in South Africa look at this business bringing in at least $2 million, having at least 200,000 worth of investments, worth of net profit every single year. It needs to have structures, it needs to have certain investments and their strategic growth. We've just come out of a meeting with one of the portfolio managers for a development bank, and some of the things they're looking at is, in your business plan, does your financial projections speak to 5 7 years? After that figure, what are you doing about it? Who are the partners you need to bring on board? Do you have letters of intent? Do you have financing partners that you're going to focus on to ensure that the product is beyond who you are, it's beyond your business, it can actually grow based on the dynamic and the data you're basically going to make these particular decisions? Yes, next slide. Next slide, please. So, in the bank loan, some of the people opt to focus their growth through a bank loan, whereby the bank can issue a loan against a collateral a director owns or a partner can bring on board as a collateral. The limitation in this could be that in the event the business fails, they take the collateral. But over time, the debt to equity is a better option, because over time the debt is constant. You're going to have a mortgage against that property, and over the next 10 years, you're going to have a consistent fixed amount of interest you're going to keep paying. Yet, if it's an equity investment, after 3 years, you're going to have growth in the equity if all the books are kept right, if all the financial perspective is all met. And that's why you need a CFO, either virtual one, or you need an accountant to look into your books every now and then to ensure that every loophole where money could be lost, and to find areas of financial adjustments to ensure your business grows. Yes, so in this graph, it shows you If you're having a debt vis-a-vis having an equity investment, I'd prefer the loan because it protects you over long term. The limitation with that, in the event the business fails, your property could be taken. Yes, the next slide. My thoughts. You need my final thoughts. You need to have the bookkeeping. It's a must. You need to prioritize your cash flows and management because running a business at all points there has to be consistent cash flow. There has to be consistent flows of income that you can meet your day-to-day operational expenses. Then you need to create a budget. This budget has to guide your costs. It has to guide your revenue cycles. How often does the money keep turning around? In your capital, your initial money, how after how long does it translate into actual profits? Is it after 6 months? Is it after 3 months? Is it after 2 months? And is it consistent or is it growing? You cannot assess this unless you're keeping your books. You cannot assess this unless you bring on board a professional that can best advise. Then you need to appreciate your supply chain. If it's a business like Jumia, like I'm going to share with you from a financial entity perspective. If it's like Jumia, what is the turnaround of those products? What's the storage fees? Who are you employing beyond the actual overall cost of the product? What's the cost of advertising? What's the cost of getting that product to the final end user? It could be transported, it could be airlifted, maybe within a couple of days. Have you factored in all those costs? Now, your product or the business or the startup you're looking at is going to paint an actual picture into how all this is going to be playing around into your overall business. Yes, and then you need to invest wisely. Part of the dialogue we just had in a meeting with the trade or portfolio manager earlier regarding one of the businesses we're helping to get financing. Part of the challenge was that they needed to look beyond the typical business they're operating. As you get maybe 6 or 3 months worth of return on investment, can you invest and diversify into portfolios like money markets, into the FX, into treasury bills to ensure that money in the long run can actually keep multiplying and you're having a translated return on the business that you can recurrent when business is not performing well. You need to also have key performance indicators in the business. We're talking about what shows that you're growing. Is it that you're having a loan, maybe a P2P online lending business, and you're basing on that too, and you're basing on the cash flows to ensure that you're growing. You could be having the daily collections, but it's not actually translating into business growth. You're collecting from your capital, but you're not collecting from the property. Have you understood the pricing right? Because if you get the pricing wrong, you're affected over time. Secondly, can you adopt to particular financial strategies to ensure that as the market changes, now people who are not delivering products can deliver their products affordably. So these are some of the things we're looking at. I'm going to give you some case studies that we've looked at one closely and then the other. Yes. Uh, One of the case studies I've gotten permission to share about is Centerwide. They are a remittance company, and 4 years ago they started operation in Uganda. Relating from a financial management perspective, she had the idea and she approached 4 different people to come up with 200 million Uganda shillings, about 60,000 US dollars. And in that, she had the expertise, she had the skill, but they had the funding. She was willing to put up at least 8 hours of her day to day to ensure that she's involved in the day to day operation of a business, and they would in turn bring on board their expertise, one from expertise in running the business, the other from an accounting perspective, one from a remittance perspective, and then the funding that came in as an additional. And talking about it from the very second slide, it once was a business idea. They have to find a business model, realizing, okay, is it going to be cash pickup or it's going to be whereby they can have an option of a money, mobile money transfer. So as someone sends money from abroad, someone can receive either through a service provider like MTN or Airtel, or even have a cash pickup or integrate into other partners. Part of the limitation they had was one, the system they needed to have at least $10,000, which was quite high for the 200 million they had, which is $60,000. So if you're looking at least $6,000 to $8,000 less of a system they needed to have, and they have a threshold. Bank of Uganda, the Central Bank Reserve, requires of them to have every single month as they operate in the remittance business. So you need to appreciate what are the industry demands. If you're coming into a financial system like they do, you need to appreciate what does the BOU or the central authority in that particular business require of you to have. If it's a forex bureau, you need to have at least 280 million, which is about $70,000 in Uganda to operate on a day-to-day on your cash flows. What does that mean to you as a business? Because you're going to leave that as a security deposit, but you need capital to meet your rent, to meet your salaries, you need capital to meet your licenses, you need capital to facilitate the different business meetings you're going to have with strategic partners, and then also develop a system. So how do we translate this? Then their stage at the moment is Series A, because I've been able to get a remittance license from Bank of Uganda. They've been able to operate the business, and I've gotten at least three different renewed licenses. This translates into a possibility that based on their financial projections, they're not yet making profits, but they can now do instant cash transfers. They can now do remittance globally with use of transfers as the Western Union and MoneyGram as part of the partners, and bringing on board service providers like MTN, Airtel, and the financial entities like banks that help people to do bank to mobile phone transfers and remittances. This has facilitated their business to grow from just an idea to a Series A investment worthy business. Secondly, what do investors usually look for when they're going to actually invest their money? Because it's not just about putting in money because an idea is profitable or a business is profitable. They're looking at, okay, has the team worked together? What is their financial background? Do they appreciate the business? What is it about them that is sellable about the business? Because they're going to invest in the people before they invest in the business. With that, we have possibilities to connect them with investors in the UK, in South Africa, and also in Amsterdam. But your business is up to be at least $2 million worth, and having an net profit of at least $200,000. But all this, it's a process. It's not a one-day investment worthy project. It's a growth over time. It takes about 6 months to just even get maybe term sheets, to get figures to demonstrate that your business is actually worthy of investors maybe putting in $500,000 to $1 million. And some that we have already focused around $1 million and above. Why? The operational cost or the cost is going to get you to get money invested from uh, at $500,000 worth of investment vis-a-vis an investment of $1 million. It's about the same fee because the cost is the same. So an investor would literally want to offer someone with slightly a higher amount of money, knowing that they're going to invest into the due diligence, into the different players that are going to ensure that your business actually it is what you present and it meets their standards. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. Yes. So here I'm going to share on a few things before we go into Q and A. One, you need to make sure you have a basic understanding of your costs. You need to understand your revenue cycle, and you also need to have the expenditures. There's lot we would share on. The other example we can give as a case study is uh, Jumia. Jumia started as an idea. Then everyone wanted to have products delivered either to their doorstep or these particular products with ease that I don't need to come to maybe a city like in Lagos or Ghana, Accra, or in Uganda to receive a product, but it can be delivered through either a third party that has a logistics flight enabled by a warehouse in these particular areas. So within 2 to 3 working days, you can actually tap into their product, the final product. And over time, it came up, presented their financing from business idea to the business model, which is the e-commerce, where they can actually deliver products to where you are. Two plus, what does that mean to the investor? Because the investors are looking at, okay, Africa, they're one, they are, so apologies about that. They're looking at Africa. Yes, as Africa, there's a very big need for warehousing. There's a very big need for the connectivity in the logistics. How do they tap into this? They chose to have motorbikes, which in Uganda they could call border borders. In Kenya they call them tuk tuk. And how has that translated that they can have them deliver within minutes to the different destinations? So with this, they've been able to one meet the need of timely delivery to cut out middlemen, whereby sometimes products don't get to their final end user. Secondly, also solve the problem of the need to deliver this particular product and cash is paid to the person actually delivering. We have certain money is not actually remitted to the business, and yet there's a cost to wherever the product came from, and also cost for the transportation and a cost to the final destination. Yes. So with that, let's share on a few sectors that are investment worthy. We have e-commerce is going to be one of those areas. We're going to have areas around the digital agencies where you're focusing on the digital platforms to ensure that people's products actually get to be known. We're talking about aviation is one of those. Education, whereby if you can actually have a very good system, you can be limitless on how many people you can actually tap into. You're talking about finance. Remittance is becoming a very big opportunity. Can you have money sent across the border and it's secure, it's instant? Those are some of the things that are going to be very, very investment worthy. Secondly, we're looking at businesses also that are touching into repairs. Can you actually repair different things and offer that solution from wherever you are? And you have maybe spare parts that you bring in, connect the people doing the repairs with those that have the spare parts and the clients. Yes, I'm open to the Q&A. Thank you. I'm waiting for the questions. We're going in for the question and answer session. I'm open to the questions available.
Yeah. Thank you to our speaker for this session. So before we move to the Q&A session, we'll take a moment to watch a video on how you can sign in your attendance for those that have been asking. Thank you.
Okay, for the attendance, it's really that easy. If you're using a desktop, then laptop, just open the video, the particular video that you would like to mark the attendance. Under this title, just come down and you will see more. Okay, this just click on it and you would see the details, description of the video. If you scroll down, then you're going to see attendance, and then there are also other information here regarding that session. So you just open it and then click on this form, and that's it. Okay, if you're using a mobile phone, then this is easy. All you just need to do is check this more under the title on the video you like to mark the attendance. Just click more and you're probably going to see something like this. You need to click it. You can see there we have these three dots, then more. So you need to click on the text again, then you're going to have this the detailed description, and then you'll be able to see attendance. Then just click on the link or copy and paste on your browser, and you should be able to mark the attendance. So it's that easy. So I hope this helps.
All right. Thank you for that awesome video, and I believe it has answered your questions on how you can sign in your attendance. So let's move into the Q&A session better. So the first question is from Joseph Munji, and he asks, why is it hard for an African to raise funds for an African startup? Why it is easy for an outsider, American or British, to raise funds for a startup deemed African and based in Africa?
Thank you, Joseph, for the question. I think one, it's going to sound. I hope you get where I'm coming from. Our governments have not invested into making our countries investment worthy. Uh, about 2 years ago, we are helping one of the clients launch an airline in Uganda, Ghana, South Africa, Hong Kong, and China. And part of the challenge we've met is being part of the routes like Ghana has a very low credit rating. So the investor is going to inquire on looking at the credit rating index. We're talking about B less something. They're going to look at the credit rating reference to make an investment decision. So the limitation in that, even the few that have actually become successful are not actually investing in the startups in Africa. The question or the pull to you, Joseph, there's an event happening in Nairobi starting tomorrow. You may not be, if you can sign up if you're within the radius of Nairobi. I'll be traveling there tonight, tomorrow night too. And part of what is answering is how do we utilize global trade financial instruments to tap into financing globally. I'll give an example. One of the instruments I'm talking about is a bank, an LC, a bank letter, where you can have cargo come from China and you issue an LC backed by an A plus bank, which is like Citibank or HSBC. uh, that's an A plus bank, and they can be able to issue a bank letter to issue to whoever is giving you either container or goods from China or any part of the world. The goods arrive, you sell, and then send back money. These are some of the things that we at Global Council for Promotion of International Trade are looking at to see that we may not use our typical banks. In Uganda, our bank rate is at least 25%. That's in a commercial bank. The central bank lending rate is at least 9%, which is quite high. We've just gotten approval of financing for one of the companies from Hong Kong, at least at 3%. In Dubai, they're issuing at 2%. So you cannot compete with people who have 2% and you're operating in a market with a very high inflation. So that would mean even the profit you're making is going to get up into the inflation curves. So what would be the solution to your question? Is one, getting into the circles as entrepreneurs. We need to get into what is the trade finance options we have. What instruments can you have? If you're a trader and you're dealing with maybe coffee, we can get you to partners that can issue you trade finance opportunities or instruments whereby someone guarantees your container sets off and you're given money. Uh, Something that I feel I also need to mention about that. I've been approached by some of the law firms in Dubai, and part of the challenge is some of the farmers in Africa first, or people that are exporting goods to the UAE, they deliver goods and for some reason farms do not actually emit funds. You find yourself in a scenario whereby you need to hire an Arab to actually represent in the courts of law. That is very costly. So we're looking at, okay, instruments like uh, LCs, standby letters of credit, or bank guarantees. These can be an option to guarantee that you'll have your money when the goods are received in any particular destination. Yes, I hope I've answered your question with a solution too.
All right. All right. Then moving on to the next question. This is from Agromet, and he asks, "What is the worst mistake a startup can make in financial management?"
Uh, I'm going to give you several, but you said the worst mistake. Part of the startups we've just gotten secured $850 million over 25 years at 3% interest rates, and part of a challenge we're going to have, or we've seen with advice from the United Kingdom through our partners, is we're going to have an FX influx whereby we need to protect them that in 25 years, as they return $850 million worth of a loan, they can actually be able to pay back in that currency at that rate then. So how do we navigate part of that is one, we've been able to engage a few banks that can actually give us fixed rates for over 25 years. It's very tricky because you find yourself whereby through economics and projections you're going to find yourself saying maybe 3,900 at current rate of 650, paying maybe 200 shillings extra, but it protects you in that you cannot lose even what you had in a local currency over an international currency. It can go up, it can go low, but you need to protect yourself around that. Secondly, the biggest mistake you can have is not having a bookkeeping done and not having maybe an external or internal auditor look into your books, because every single decision, financially, payment or expenditure, has to be kept. By 5 years, we expect that you have kept every single book from $100,000, from $50,000, from $100 to show that you can actually handle the volumes when it comes in from an investor. Yes.
All right. This is from Kekurendi, and she asks, "Hi, I'm Gift Awelelu, founder of JITS. Here is my question. How can you keep track of your financial progress in business when you are in an economy that the currency continually depreciates?"
I hear you. So what you do is, I've seen it for one of the business that I started before. A PR agency, I think ranked among the top 10 in Africa, piece of public relations. And one of the things you can do is charge at an international rate, charge in dollars, charge in pounds, charge in euros, whereby it's not you to meet the exchange rate, this ups and downs. On the other side, I know very many people would say, you know what, we cannot pay you in a currency where we are getting this money in shillings. What you can do is, for the money that is going through, have a dollar and a local currency account. All the money coming in from the business, you have, based on your financial documents, you have a basic amount of money you need per month. Any extra needs to move to a foreign currency, because in that the options you can tap into, like I've been able to negotiate with one of the banks in Uganda, and they can issue us at least for every $150,000 in the bank, they can issue us up to 5 to 3% overnight trades. So these are some of the benefits you can have as your business grows. But in the long run, it's obviously build on your investment portfolio. you're not focusing only on the business that you started. You're also looking at in the meeting we had today with one of the development banks, part of what the emphasis was is you need to focus on having more passive income coming in that you don't need to monitor every second, every hour. And this came in from a scenario whereby FX had 50% of an investment advisory traction on the figures we presented to one of the investors. And they said, you know what? FX requires you to have a portfolio manager one. You need to have consistent, either daily, weekly, or monthly consistent flow because it can rise, it can fall. But with that, you're sure that with a passive income ongoing monitoring of this money. So you focus on the actual business cores. Is it if it's an airline, you're focusing on the passenger or cargo. If it's an e-commerce, you're focusing on the core of that business. But the passive income comes in to support your day-to-day operations. Yes, I hope I answered you before.
All right. This is from Revista the Canada studio, and she asks, what strategies can startups use to stay financially afloat in an inflationary environment where costs keep rising unpredictably?
I think I partially answered that, but if you're doing cross-border trade, like in COVID, one of my companies registered in Kenya was doing export of pineapples and also eggs. And part of what we realized is if you can do two-way export, that if you're doing business across the border, what do you take and what can you return? So that in both ways, you're having a return on investment on both the trip. The limitation we found with this was one, the security. You need to, if you do an exchange in a different place, different from someone that can handle bulk exchange, you're going to lose some amounts of money on that. Then the security. Part of the scenario we had in Nairobi was we were selling things in Kawangwale, and the banks were about 30, 40 minutes from where we're doing the actual sales. This meant that you'd have cash in a bag with you to the bank for a distance of about 40 minutes. So we're forced to literally hire a police officer with a gun every single time we're actually transporting money to the bank. So part of how you can do is look at what can we focus on that in the concurrent exchange. How do we tap into that particular opportunity for business growth? But if you're looking at goods coming from Europe or Asian countries like China, can you have financial instruments whereby you're dealing now with a scenario whereby a cargo ship is going to take about 30 days or 20 days transporting mediocre if you're dealing in a wholesale of cars? What can you do around you giving the upfront cash? It earns you an interest over the 20, 30 days using maybe an insurance cover in the money market. I know some of the insurance companies here are giving at least 1 to 2% every single month. So if it's 1 or 2% over 30 days, the business is earning something on that particular amount of money, and the goods have still arrived too. Yes, we are not going through the previous one.
All right. All right. Ijoma, we're going to ask. Thank you so much, sir. Please, how do one prioritize cash flow management?
Yes. Now, you see, for every entrepreneur, there has to be an actual appreciation. It can be basic, but with time, I know there are particular courses, free courses online that can take you through financial documentation. This is going to protect you. How do you get? You need to have first the basics. What are your operating costs? What is the cost of the range? So with that, make an accountant a friend. Have a friend accountant that at any given point you can reach out to them and they teach you. Within 4 months, you can actually have all the information you need to know about cash flows. So over time, then you can bring them to audit your business, but at least with the appreciation of the day-to-day cash flows. How much it can best be demonstrated from how much do you bring in and how much goes out from a daily perspective. Then you move the daily to monthly. For monthly, it will give you at least an annual projection. Because from an investor perspective, they're going to ask you at least for 5 years to 7 years worth of financial projection. But without the basic appreciation of that, it will affect you in the long run because you not give them actual figures they can actually use to make a decision to invest in your business. Yes.
Okay. He asked, I thank you for our team support for this topic, but my question is to know in the procurement process, what is main implements we can hold on when we can introduce the purchase order?
The main kindly rephrase the main instrument they can hold on. They can give a guarantee. They can give you a guarantee. They can also give you an LC, a letter of credit. Now, from a European perspective, it has to be banked by either an A plus bank, an A bank, or a B plus bank. The hierarchy in that ranking shows that by all means, if a local bank like I know United Bank for Africa is in Nigeria, if it cannot meet paying that loan, the A plus bank becomes the intermediary. They will actually meet that amount of money that is supposed to be paid. Yes. So with like a bank guarantee, a standby letter of credit, or yes,
Okay. Innocent asks, can your previous financials affect your eligibility to get investors?
uh, yes, they can definitely affect. So one way to work around that is from day one, from when the business idea is conceived, document from the logo design, from the brand book design, from the meetings you're having with particular people that can be ideally partners. Document all expenditures so that you know if it's coming from an individual perspective. This money has to come back in one way or another. If it's equity, you can be able to say yes. In the initial stages, someone invested maybe 500,000, and over time this is the value based on that. So in the long run, it will help you to best give a valuation to an investor vis-a-vis without those particular information put together. Yes.
All right. Um, Ras asks, how can an early stage startup manage finances effectively when revenues are low but operational responsibilities are high?
One, it's going to be in two ways. If the operational responsibilities are high, you might need to rethink the model. If it's an example would be if someone is paying rent of five. Are there other places you can actually get affordable rent less than that? Secondly, if you're focusing in your supply chain, if you're actually a wholesaler, Can you mix wholesaling and the retail business? Third, if your revenues are low, can you add on products? Like we have a company we're trying to get to Africa from Italy, one of the big electronics manufacturer. They do TVs, they do phones, they do speakers. And can you add an additional stream of income onto your business? An example, foods, everyone is going to eat at any given point. If you're running a restaurant, what can you add to that in moments whereby the sales are low? You need to look at what additionals you can add to that business. If it's a clothing line, every single day there's a baby being born. Can you add maybe a clothing line in addition to what you're offering? Yes. Next question.
Oh, okay. Okay, next question is what early financial decisions can determine long-term success?
Pardon?
What early financial
Pardon?
decisions can determine long-term success? What financial decisions can determine long-term success? From Case.
I didn't get the question, unfortunately. For some reason, the screen question.
Should I repeat that?
Yes, kindly repeat.
Okay. What early financial decisions can determine long-term success?
Okay, sure. One could be partnerships. You need to have the right partners. You need to have the right systems. Partners can be financial, can be skill set, can be in form of a board. Like we've had to put at least 6 people on the board of the airline that have expertise in finance in the UK, in Hong Kong, in aviation as well, in transport fleets that tracking, so that by the time a decision is not made by one person. Here you're looking at an overall 360-degree decision that can be made for all. Yes. So the the partnerships can be made. The bookkeeping is an early decision, and then also giving the right assumption on how much money can actually be utilized at that stage of the business, because you would say in the next 6 months this is how much we need, this is how much the business needs to keep bringing you on board to ensure that the employees are paid, the rent is paid, the lights are on, and the few other things around the business keep running, and you're looking at a steady growth. So once you have the financials done right, there's definitely going to be a higher return on investment that can make you stand out even in the presence of investors. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, the next question is from Pumela, and she asks, would you say it is when you are still starting focus on operational duties and client engagement?
Yes, 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 yes. And why? I'll give you an example, like aviation. Typical operation of an airline. The company we're been talking about is looking at 747. It costs you at least $50,000 per hour in jet fuel, and you need to pay air hostesses if it's a passenger carrier. It needs at least 25 air hostesses. You need to pay the handling fees. You need to pay the maintenance fees. You need to pay the carry, like all that money you may not have in one go. But you can have partners as you develop the system, because they're going to buy into the idea. They're buying into the business plan. So as you work on your business plan, you can literally reach out to people and get them to have a buy into your operations. Yes. I hope I answered that. David, was that clear?
All right. Thank thank you for that. So, Empowering Platform Organization asks, how can startup balance financial prudence with the need for investment in growth and development?
One way in that is have you can even have a virtual CFO or a virtual accountant. Have your books and then have someone look into them. That is the best way, the best way. I can ask you. Then following that, as the business grows, like now, they have to have a portfolio manager, someone to look into. Okay, yes, you have this chunks of money in investments. How do you infuse the money that can come in form of investment into that particular business? Yeah.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. I believe with that is the end of the Q&A segment. And want to say thank you to our speaker for an amazing session, and also to you, our listeners and our participants, for staying through with us throughout this session. But before we go, please do not forget to sign your attendance as you watch the video on how to do that. So I believe that should be simple for you guys. So do not forget to sign in your attendance as it is necessary for at the end of every session. So we want to if you want to reach out to us and ask us questions, you can reach out to us on our socials, which is NTEEP, Facebook at NTEEP, X at NTEEP, LinkedIn at NTEEP, and Instagram at NTEEP Connect. So thank you for an amazing session. Thank you so much. So we will not forget to give out a special appreciation to our supporters and ecosystem partners, Nonpro Technologies, Africa Business, Spirit TV, the Meben Foundation, November 8th, Ashuli, Ubuntu Soft, Law Savvy, Ekokaya Holdings, Women Nice, and Easy Equities. So we want to say thank you all for being a part of NTIP, and we appreciate you. So we thank you so much for joining us, and same time, same same station tomorrow. So goodbye.